communicating and relating. So in all fields, all areas of life, like music, we have Yo-Yo Ma and Itzhak Perlman. And
At 89, Alan Alda sheds new light. About clash with co-star Alan Alda. Born Alfonso Joseph d'Abruzzo on January 28, 1936, in New York City, is an acclaimed American actor, director, and writer. Best known for his role as Hawkeye Pierce on the legendary TV series MASH, 1972 to 1983, he earned multiple Emmy and Golden Globe awards. Beyond acting, Alda has directed films, written memoirs, and advocated for science communication, founding the Alan Alda Center for Communicating Science. His career spans theater, film, and television, making him a beloved figure for his wit, warmth, and commitment to meaningful storytelling. Alan Alda shares why he wanted to join the final season, to have the opportunity to close the story in a meaningful way. Alda. Cooper's on-set disagreements. The world of television has always been a delicate balance between vision and execution, and few examples illustrate this better than the creative clash between Alan Alda and Jackie Cooper. Cooper, who stepped behind the camera as a director after his successful acting career, was known for his disciplined, structured style. He believed in the power of the written word, insisting that the script was a sacred blueprint that should be followed precisely. This method resonated with many in Hollywood, but for Alan Alda, it was limiting. Alda, best known for his groundbreaking role as Hawkeye Pierce on MASH, believed in a more fluid, organic approach to acting. He encouraged improvisation and urged his fellow cast members to inhabit their characters so fully that their lines came across as authentic rather than rehearsed. For Alda, the goal was not just to perform a script, but to make the characters live and breathe in ways that audiences could genuinely relate to. The two men's differing philosophies soon led to creative tension. Cooper would often demand exact delivery of lines, sometimes requesting multiple retakes if an actor deviated even slightly from the script. Alda, on the other hand, pushed for freedom in delivery, sometimes altering the rhythm or phrasing to better reflect the moment. This naturally sparked debates on set, with Alda advocating for artistic flexibility and Cooper holding firm to his structured vision. Yet, despite the disagreements, the conflict was never personal. Both Alda and Cooper respected each other's professionalism and dedication. The clash was about artistic vision, not ego. Alda wanted to humanize the characters and bring a sense of spontaneity to the screen, while Cooper sought to maintain the integrity and clarity of the script as it was written. In the end, Alda's influence proved transformative. His insistence on authenticity helped shape the emotional depth of MASH, a show that resonated deeply with audiences around the world. The combination of sharp writing and naturalistic performances gave the series its unique blend of humor and humanity. Even Cooper, despite his more rigid approach, recognized the impact Alda's philosophy had on the success of the show. The creative friction between them ultimately enriched the storytelling, producing a final product that was both structured and alive with emotional truth. Alda and Farrell, respectful rivalry. When MASH introduced Mike Farrell as Captain B.J. Honeycutt in 1975, stepping into the void left by Wayne Rogers, the dynamic of the series shifted dramatically. Alan Alda, already established as the irreverent yet deeply human Hawkeye Pierce, suddenly found himself working alongside an actor whose approach was both complimentary and challenging. The relationship between Alda and Farrell quickly became one defined by mutual respect, subtle rivalry, and ultimately a creative partnership that elevated the show to new artistic heights. On screen, the chemistry between Hawkeye and BJ was undeniable. Their friendship was the heart of MASH during its later years, offering viewers both humor and poignant commentary on the absurdity of war. Yet, the depth of that portrayal did not come easily. It was born from the differences in how Alda and Farrell approached their craft. Alda often leaned into humor, even in darker moments, believing that laughter was the sharpest tool for exposing truth and connecting with audiences. Farrell, by contrast, preferred to emphasize the emotional gravity of situations, grounding his character in sincerity and heartfelt reactions. This divergence sometimes led to creative tension. In rehearsals, Alda would suggest adding a witty aside or comedic timing to a scene, while Farrell might push for more stillness, allowing the audience to sit with the weight of the moment. These disagreements, though occasionally frustrating, rarely devolved into conflict. Instead, they forged a kind of productive competition, each man striving to make the scene stronger, richer, and more authentic. The result was often a blend of Alda's biting humor and Farrell's quiet intensity, creating some of the most memorable moments in television history. One striking example was in episodes dealing with the psychological toll of war. Alda might slip in a humorous quip to break the tension, while Farrell's BJ would counterbalance it with a deeply emotional response. The interplay gave viewers relief and resonance, making the storytelling more nuanced than if either style had dominated. Critics later praised the Alda-Farrell dynamic as one of the key reasons MASH maintained its relevance and impact during its long run. Behind the scenes, their relationship mirrored their on-screen camaraderie. Alda and Farrell built a genuine friendship rooted in admiration for each other's talents. Farrell often praised Alda's sharp wit and leadership on set, while Alda respected Farrell's commitment to truth in acting and his ability to bring emotional authenticity to the screen. Cast and crew recalled how the two would often engage in spirited discussions about scenes, yet end those conversations with laughter and mutual understanding. This balance of debate and respect kept the set energized and collaborative rather than divisive. Their friendship extended beyond the set. Both men were socially and politically engaged, using their celebrity status to advocate for causes they believed in, from humanitarian issues to progressive politics. This shared sense of responsibility further deepened their bond, proving that their connection was not limited to their roles as Hawkeye and BJ, but extended to their real-life values. The legacy of Alda and Farrell's partnership is felt in how audiences remember MASH. The humor, warmth, and depth of the Hawkeye-B-Chet relationship came not only from the scripts, but from the unique synergy between two actors who challenged each other to be better. While their methods sometimes clashed, their goals aligned to create meaningful television that honored the complexity of human experience in times of war. In later years, both Alda and Farrell reflected fondly on their time together. They acknowledged that the occasional tension was a necessary ingredient in crafting performances that resonated with millions. More importantly, they emphasized that their friendship endured well beyond the show's end, a testament to the respect and affection they built through years of collaboration. Ultimately, the relationship between Alan Alda and Mike Farrell stands as an example of how creative rivalry can be a gift rather than a burden. It pushed both men to explore new dimensions in their performances, enriched the fabric of MASH, and demonstrated that even in the face of artistic differences, respect and friendship can turn competition into collaboration. MASH casting, misses and triumphs. The magic of MASH was not only in its writing and themes, but also in the unforgettable performances of its cast. Yet behind the seamless chemistry on screen lay fascinating stories of casting decisions, near misses, and the creative risks that defined the show's legacy. Loretta Sweet, Larry Linville, and David Ogden Stiers each had their own unique journey into the 40s 77th, and together, their experiences paint a vivid picture of how fate, skill, and bravery shaped some of television's most iconic characters. Loretta Sweet, who immortalized the role of Margaret Hot Lips Houlihan, almost never became part of the series. At the time of casting, Sweet had already committed to another project, which by contract would have made her unavailable. Fate, however, intervened. The other project collapsed, freeing her to step into the role that would define her career. It was truly a case of right place, right time. Sweet brought a unique strength to Margaret, transforming her from the caricature of a flirtatious nurse into a layered, independent woman whose vulnerability was as compelling as her toughness. Looking back, the show might have lost one of its strongest characters if not for that stroke of timing, Larry Linville. Meanwhile, approached his role as Major Frank Burns with a very different mindset. Rather than attempting to soften Burns or make him sympathetic, Linville made the deliberate decision to embrace his unlikable qualities. He treated it as a challenge to create a character so detestable, pompous, and insecure that he became unforgettable. But Linville also infused Frank with moments of humanity, subtle cracks in his arrogance that revealed loneliness, fear, and longing. This duality made Frank Burns more than a one-dimensional villain. He was a reflection of human flaws, exaggerated under the pressures of war. Linville later admitted that he left the show after 5 seasons because he felt he had taken the character as far as he could. But in those years, his performance left a permanent mark on audiences. Replacing such a strong presence was never going to be easy, and that responsibility fell on David Ogden Stiers when he joined the cast as Charles Emerson Winchester III. Stiers faced immediate pressure, as fans wondered if anyone could fill the void left by Linville. Instead of mimicking Frank Burns, Stiers and the writers chose to go in a completely different direction. Winchester was not bumbling or insecure. He was brilliant, cultured, and egotistical, a Boston aristocrat who looked down on everyone around him. Yet beneath his arrogance was complexity, flashes of compassion, intellect, and even vulnerability. Stiers's portrayal gave the show a fresh dynamic. The conflicts between Winchester and Hawkeye were less about physical comedy and more about clashing worldviews, elevating the narrative in new ways. His addition not only sustained the show, but helped it evolve into its later, more sophisticated seasons. These casting stories remind us that MASH thrived, not because everything went according to plan, but because the right people arrived at the right time, each willing to take risks. Loretta Sweet's timing, Larry Linville's fearless embrace of villainy, and David Ogden Stiers' bold reinvention all contributed to a tapestry of characters that audiences came to love, or love to hate. In the end, it was this combination of chance, choice, and courage that made the 4077th feel like a real place, populated by people whose flaws and virtues mirrored our own. MASH, the legendary goodbye. When MASH aired its final episode, goodbye, farewell, and amen. On February 28, 1983, it wasn't just the conclusion of a television series. It was the end of an era. With more than 106 million viewers tuning in, the finale became the most watched episode in American television history at that time, a record that underscored the profound impact the series had on popular culture. For over a decade, MASH had offered audiences humor, humanity, and searing reflections on the cost of war. And the finale encapsulated all of those elements in a sweeping, emotional goodbye. Alan Alda, who had not only played Hawkeye Pierce for 11 years, but also taken on the roles of writer and director in several episodes, was deeply involved in shaping the finale. As co-writer and director of Goodbye, Farewell, and Amen, Alda sought to create an ending that was both honest and cathartic. The episode depicted the characters finally leaving the 4077th Mobile Army Surgical Hospital after the end of the Korean War, each saying farewell in ways that reflected their growth and struggles throughout the series. For Hawkeye, the story centered on his psychological trauma, culminating in a powerful narrative about the emotional scars of war. In the editing room, Alda himself was overcome by emotion. He later admitted that he cried when watching the finished cut, not only because of the story, but also because it symbolized the end of a journey that had defined much of his career and personal life. It was not just Hawkeye saying goodbye to his comrades, but Alda himself saying goodbye to a family he had shared 11 years of his life with. The rest of the cast also described the finale as one of the most emotional experiences of their careers. Loretta Swit, Margaret Hot Lips Houlihan, remembered the filming as bittersweet, acknowledging that while they were proud of what they had achieved, it felt like losing a family. Mike Farrell, B.J. Honeycutt, admitted that the tears audiences saw on screen were not just acting, but genuine reflections of what the cast was feeling in those final moments. Even David Ogden Stiers, who joined the show later as Charles Winchester, felt the weight of history in being part of such a cultural milestone. The farewell scene between Hawkeye and BJ remains one of the most iconic in television history. Their hug, followed by BJ's refusal to say the word goodbye, captured the difficulty of parting ways with someone who had become like a brother. That sentiment resonated not only with the characters, but with the millions of viewers who had grown up with them. The emotional truth of that moment was born out of the real friendships behind the camera, where the bonds between the cast had become as strong as those of their on-screen counterparts, beyond the personal. The finale's success was also a testament to the cultural reach of MASH. At a time before streaming or DVR, the fact that over 106 million people tuned in simultaneously reflected the show's power to unite audiences across generations, political beliefs, and backgrounds. In living rooms across America, families gathered to watch what felt like both a television event and a national ritual, even decades later. Goodbye, farewell. And Amen continues to be remembered as one of television's greatest finales. Critics often cite it as the gold standard for how to end a long-running series, balancing closure with emotional depth, honoring characters while leaving their stories open enough to feel real. For Alda and his castmates, the finale was not just a farewell to a show, but to a family, to years of laughter, tears, and storytelling that had touched millions. MASH drama, exits, legacy. While MASH is celebrated as one of the greatest shows in television history, its journey was not free of conflicts and departures, as the series gradually shifted from lighthearted comedy toward deeper drama. Creative tensions began to emerge within the cast and crew. Some embraced the evolution, believing it gave the show more emotional resonance, while others felt it drifted away from its comedic roots. This division highlighted the challenge of sustaining a long-running series while keeping it fresh. One of the most notable exits came early on with Larry Gelbart, the founding writer and creative force behind MASH. After season 4, Gelbart decided to leave, citing both exhaustion and disagreements over the show's direction. His departure was a turning point, as the series began leaning even more heavily into social commentary and dramatic storytelling. Another emotional departure was Gary Berghoff, who played the beloved Radar O'Reilly. By season 8, the workload and pressures of production weighed heavily on him, compounded by personal reasons. Though his leaving saddened fans, Berghoff later returned for a special farewell episode, giving closure to one of the show's most cherished characters. These controversies and departures reflected the complex reality behind the laughter and drama. MASH was not just a show, but a demanding collaboration, where balancing artistic vision, personal lives, and network expectations often came at a cost. The legacy of MASH. In the end, MASH was more than a television show. It was a life-changing experience for its cast and a cultural phenomenon for audiences. Its blend of comedy, tragedy, and raw humanity set a new standard in storytelling. Despite backstage conflicts and creative clashes, it was precisely that passion and debate which fueled its brilliance. MASH achieved both artistic and commercial success, leaving behind a legacy as one of the greatest television series of all time. A work that continues to resonate with generations long after its final farewell. If MASH's timeless story touched you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more classic journeys.